Converting a fluorescent fixture to a chandelier requires careful attention to wiring and safety. In this case, we're dealing with a situation where a fluorescent fixture over a kitchen island was wired directly from the end of the fixture using 14/2 Romex. The Romex has been stripped back about 20 inches for connection. The customer wants to replace the fluorescent with a chandelier. A key problem is the absence of a junction box for the original fluorescent install. However, the existing 14/2 Romex is long enough to reach a junction box that can be installed approximately 15 inches away. The challenge is the strip section of the Romex. Here's a breakdown of steps and considerations for addressing this situation. Firstly, safety is paramount. Always turn off the power to the circuit at the breaker before beginning any electrical work. This is crucial to prevent electrical shock. Secondly, assess the existing wiring. Carefully examine the stripped portion of the 14/2 Romex. Check for any damage to the individual conductors inside. If the conductors are nicked, frayed, or otherwise compromised, the entire length of the Romex back to the nearest unstripped point should be replaced. If the conductors appear to be in good condition, proceed to the next step. Thirdly, install a suitable junction box. Since there wasn't one originally, a new box needs to be installed. Choose a box that is appropriately sized for the number of conductors that will be inside. An octagon box or a rampan box are common choices for lighting fixtures. Ensure the box is rated for ceiling mounting and is capable of supporting the weight of the chandelier. Fourthly, secure the junction box. The box must be securely mounted to a structural member of the ceiling, such as a joist. If a joist is not conveniently located, use a mounting bracket or a bar hanger specifically designed for this purpose. The mounting method should comply with local electrical codes and be able to support the weight of the chandelier plus a safety margin. Fifthly, address the stripped Romex. There are several options for handling the stripped Romex. The chosen method should ensure the wires are properly protected and insulated within the junction box. One option is to use heat shrink tubing. Cut appropriately sized pieces of heat shrink tubing and slide them over each of the individual conductors, the black, white, and ground. Position the tubing to cover the strip sections of the conductors and then use a heat gun to shrink the tubing tightly around the wires. This will provide insulation and protection to the exposed conductors. Another option is to use electrical tape. If heat shrink tubing is not available, carefully wrap each of the stripped conductors with electrical tape. Overlap the tape layers to provide a secure and insulated covering. Ensure that all exposed sections of the conductors are completely covered. A third option, which addresses both insulation and physical protection, involves using a non-metallic flexible conduit, often referred to as Smurf tube. Slide the stripped portion of the 14/2 Romex into the flexible conduit from the point where the outer jacket begins. Secure the flexible conduit to the junction box using an appropriate connector. This will provide a protective sleeve for the stripped wires and prevent them from being damaged. Another option, and likely the most code compliant, is to replace the entire run of 14/2 Romex from the fixture location back to its source. While more labor intensive, this eliminates any concerns about the integrity of the stripped wires and ensures a clean, professional installation. If you choose this method, make sure the power is off, carefully remove the old Romex, and pull a new length of 14/2 Romex through the existing pathways. Then connect the new Romex at both ends, ensuring all connections are secure and properly insulated. Now address the connections within the junction box. Using appropriate wire connectors, such as wire nuts, connect the wires from the 14/2 Romex to the wires from the chandelier. Connect the black wire from the Romex to the black wire from the chandelier. Connect the white wire from the Romex to the white wire from the chandelier. Connect the ground wire from the Romex to the ground wire from the chandelier. Ensure all connections are tight and secure. Give each wire a gentle tug to confirm it is properly seated in the wire connector. Securely ground the junction box. The metal junction box must be properly grounded. Connect the ground wire from the 14/2 Romex to the grounding screw inside the junction box. This provides a path for fault current in case of a short circuit. If the junction box is non-metallic, this step may not be required, but always refer to the manufacturer's instructions and local electrical codes. Carefully tuck the wires into the junction box. Once all the connections are made, carefully fold the wires into the junction box, ensuring they are not pinched or damaged. Make sure there is enough space for the chandelier's mounting hardware. Install the chandelier according to the manufacturer's instructions. Attach the chandelier's mounting bracket to the junction box. Then connect the chandelier's wires to the corresponding wires in the junction box following the color-coded connections. Finally, secure the chandelier to the mounting bracket. Inspect the installation. Before turning the power back on, carefully inspect the installation to ensure all connections are secure, all wires are properly insulated, and the chandelier is securely mounted. Check that no bare wires are exposed and that all components are properly installed according to the manufacturer's instructions. After the inspection, turn the power back on at the breaker. Test the chandelier to ensure it is working properly. If the chandelier does not light up, turn off the power immediately and recheck all the connections. If the chandelier lights up but flickers or behaves erratically, turn off the power and check for loose connections or faulty wiring. Consider local electrical codes. It's important to be aware of and comply with local electrical codes and regulations. These codes are in place to ensure the safety of electrical installations and to prevent fire hazards. If you are unsure about any aspect of the installation, consult with a qualified electrician. For example, National Electrical Code 314.16 covers box fill calculations to ensure there is adequate space within the junction box for the conductors and devices. 404.9 addresses the proper support of lighting fixtures. It's always best to err on the side of caution and seek professional help when dealing with electrical work. Using appropriately sized wire connectors is extremely important. Never use wire connectors that are too small for the number or gauge of wires being connected. Overfilled wire connectors can lead to loose connections, which can cause overheating and fire hazards. Always use wire connectors that are rated for the specific application. Also, consider using a Torx screwdriver to tighten the wire connector screws to the manufacturer's specified torque. This ensures a secure and reliable connection. Securing the Romex cable to the junction box is also important. Use an approved cable clamp or connector to secure the Romex cable to the junction box. This prevents the cable from being pulled out of the box and protects the wires from abrasion. Make sure the cable clamp is properly tightened to provide a secure connection. Before starting any electrical work, it's always a good idea to take pictures of the existing wiring. This can be helpful if you need to refer back to the original wiring configuration. Use a digital camera or smartphone to take clear, well-lit photos of the wiring before you disconnect anything. Also, label the wires with masking tape and a permanent marker to identify their function. Consider adding additional support for the chandelier. If the chandelier is particularly heavy or if the ceiling is not structurally sound, consider adding additional support for the chandelier. This can be done by installing a brace between the ceiling joists or by using a heavy-duty mounting bracket that is specifically designed for chandeliers. Make sure the support is strong enough to safely hold the weight of the chandelier. If the original installation used undersized wiring, it's important to upgrade the wiring to the proper size. 14-gauge wire is typically rated for 15 amps, while 12-gauge wire is rated for 20 amps. If the chandelier requires more power than the existing wiring can handle, upgrade the wiring to the appropriate gauge. Consult with a qualified electrician to determine the correct wire size for your application. If the junction box is located in a damp or wet location, use a weatherproof junction box and fittings. This will protect the electrical connections from moisture and prevent corrosion. Use a gasketed cover on the junction box to further seal out moisture. Also, use weatherproof wire connectors to ensure a watertight connection. Be cautious of working around insulation. If the junction box is located in an area with insulation, be careful not to damage the insulation while working. Avoid compressing or disturbing the insulation, as this can reduce its effectiveness. Wear a dust mask and gloves to protect yourself from insulation fibers. It's always a good idea to test the circuit after completing the installation. Use a voltage tester to verify that the power is off before working on the wiring. Then, after completing the installation, use a circuit tester to verify that the circuit is properly wired and grounded. This will help ensure that the installation is safe and reliable. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions for all electrical products. Read and understand the manufacturer's instructions for the chandelier, junction box, wire connectors, and other electrical components. This will help ensure that you are using the products correctly and safely. If you have any questions or concerns, contact the manufacturer or consult with a qualified electrician. When making wire connections, always use the correct tools. Use wire strippers to remove the insulation from the wires without damaging the conductors. Use a crimping tool to crimp wire connectors securely. Use a screwdriver to tighten screws and terminals. Using the correct tools will help ensure that the connections are made properly and safely. Avoid using excessive force when tightening screws or terminals. Over-tightening can damage the screws or terminals and lead to loose connections. Use a torque screwdriver to tighten screws and terminals to the manufacturer's specified torque. This will ensure a secure and reliable connection without damaging the components. Check the polarity of the wiring. Make sure that the black wire is connected to the hot terminal and the white wire is connected to the neutral terminal. Reversing the polarity can cause electrical problems and safety hazards. Use a multimeter to verify the polarity of the wiring. When working with electrical wiring, always wear appropriate safety gear. Wear safety glasses to protect your eyes from flying debris. Wear rubber gloves to protect yourself from electrical shock. Wear a dust mask to protect yourself from dust and debris. Working safely is essential to prevent injuries. If you're not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous if not done properly. If you're not comfortable working with electricity, or if you're not sure how to do something, hire a qualified electrician. A qualified electrician has the knowledge, skills, and experience to perform electrical work safely and correctly. When working with older wiring, be extra cautious. Older wiring may be brittle, damaged, or improperly insulated. Handle older wiring carefully and inspect it thoroughly for any signs of damage. If you find any damage, replace the wiring with new wiring. If you are unsure about the condition of the wiring, consult with a qualified electrician. Consider the aesthetics of the installation. When installing a chandelier, consider the aesthetics of the installation. Choose a chandelier that complements the style of the room. Position the chandelier so that it is centered over the island and at the proper height. Use a decorative canopy to cover the junction box and wiring. A well-designed installation will enhance the beauty of the room. The steps above should guide in converting the light fixture, but it is advised to consult a qualified professional for the tasks.